Alright everybody, welcome back to another Xvault gaming video. Xvault here, and yes, today we have your second dose of the salty batch files for the week. Lots already transpired, as you can already tell. It's always a new week, it's always new salt to mine, so there's a lot to jump into. So let's go ahead and jump to it. Alright, so like I was saying, we have a lot of breaking news that produced a lot of salt, and it's only halfway through the week, or towards the beginning of the week, if you will, and two of those subject matters happens to be an indie game, Hypercharge, right? The other happens to be Square Enix aggressively tackling multiplayer or multi-plat games going forward. So there's a lot to be undone there, but of course, like I mentioned, we got a lot of salt deriving from all ends, all spouts, you name it. So let's start with the first one here. What I want to do is give everybody some context. Feel free to fast forward or skip to the end of the clip. It's a 2-minute clip, but it does give you the context of what we're going to go over. Go ahead and take a look at this.
He's dead on arrival without Game Pass. Laugh out loud. You should have just taken the Game Pass money. Then you would have a bit of a player base that would actually end up buying the game. Oh. So, first of all, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everybody who has already pre-ordered our indie game. It honestly means so much that I can't, words don't do it justice, but honestly, it means so much to us that you believe in us and what we're making, and you know, us as a team as well. As we're not a large team. We're just 6 indie devs. We're not a large corporation. We don't have millions or billions of pounds of budgets here and there. We're just 6 best friends who are making our dream game. We're finally bringing it onto our dream console. And just because it's not on Game Pass doesn't mean that it's not, that it should be completely dismissed, or that you shouldn't give it a try, or just start throwing out comments that nobody's going to play it and this and that. You know, at the end of the day, support indie devs, support games also that aren't on Game Pass. Game Pass is great, has its perks, but not every game is necessarily the right fit for it, you know. And yeah, there's nothing more I can say. I'm sorry our game isn't on Game Pass, but it isn't. It's, you pay for the game and put a lot of effort into it, a lot of effort and heart and soul into it, and we believe it's a fair price. And I don't know what else I can say.
All right, so like we were saying, this has to do with the Hypercharge indie game, right? As you can see from one of the devs there. It really is unfortunate. A lot of folks trying to twist this and act like it's a sympathy plea to try to generate more sales. I don't think that's the case for this. I'm not saying that isn't a case for a lot of examples out there. I don't believe this is the one. Let's pull up Mr. Dano here, who tries to be as neutral as possible, even though he prefers Xbox, but he's constantly putting this stuff out. So here he is. Hey, my fellow Xbox fans, I don't do this often, but if you were ever going to buy a game, I'd implore you to buy this one. I'm sick of Game Pass or we don't care mentality some have. So let's go out and support the hell out of a great indie game and shut these people up. So I do applaud the fact that he's trying to do something here, but the fact that you have to rally the troops behind buying games is the exact reason why we're doing a full circle effect here, are we not? It's the Game Pass mentality that Phil Spencer and company has implored you all to do so on the Xbox fan base. You're fighting an uphill battle. We all know how that works, and we have some examples of that as well, but this comes off of his repost of the tweet from, or the post from Hypercharge Dev there. Just because our indie game isn't on the Game Pass doesn't mean it's dead on arrival. We hope you still give our action figure game a try. And I agree. The other part of this is I'm not sure the behind the scenes type of situation on why this isn't releasing on Nintendo platforms or even PlayStation, of course. I don't know if it's because it's really buggy or it's an early access type of deal that PlayStation isn't really keen on, and neither is Nintendo. But maybe we have some more. If you know more down in the comments below, please let me know, as well as the audience watching, because I would love some more context to be shed on that. Now, supposedly this game will be heading to other platforms down the line this year, but the fact that it is starting off with Xbox leads me to believe that it's an earlier access type of game, kind of like how Pal World is. But as we go on, we have some more examples in regards to that, right? Some of the Xbox fans, Sandro needs to be on Game Pass or I'm not playing it. I'm not paying a high subscription price and then buying separate games. Game Pass is the future. Get on board or get out. Well, Sandro, you're partially right here. I'm going to give you a little bit here. You're not going to pay a high subscription price and then buying a separate game, right? I understand that mentality. Hence why Xbox is where it's at. Hence why they're probably going to go multi-platform with even their first-party studios. This is the reason why. If you're okay with that, then that's fine, and you enjoy using a subscription service and it works for you. I will let you have that part. The other part of this is Game Pass is the future. Get on board or get out. That is not correct. Again, it's not being as profitable as they had hoped, and it is, of course, stagnant, so no. And then Mitch, of course, nah, to me, Xbox is all about Game Pass. They put out Game Pass front and center the last 6 years. Again, he's not necessarily wrong, but you see where they're getting the mentality from. How do you fix this? How do you fix this, Xbox? There's a couple of ways you can fix it. It's not going to go well for those that have already subsided into this type of ecosystem for subscribing and renting their games as their primary way of playing. That's a problem. Not a PlayStation problem, not a Nintendo problem. That's a Microsoft and Xbox problem. And then, of course, the Bacon Life. Did the developer get paid to put the game on Game Pass? If so, my money has already supported them. Again, that kind of makes sense, right? But it's not going to put it on Game Pass. They are not going to put it on Game Pass, right? So the problem is, while you're somewhat right as far as like, well, my money is already supporting this theme, yes and no. There's not enough subscribers out there to truly support this format and a lot of companies, and you're going to see less and less games take that money cap over to Game Pass and putting their content and games on that. Is that right? So, kind of crazy, but let's keep going here. Wandering Dutch, same theme, right? Having helped moderate the stream chats of Hypercharge, it's quite alarming how many people will refuse to buy an indie game unless it's on Game Pass. Quite sad, really. Massively detrimental to the indie development scene. If people want the industry to improve, they are going to have to start buying and supporting indie games and stop begging for subscription inclusion. They are very small teams that very much need your support, so do it. 100% correct, 100% factual. Well, we can't help but have Jez stick his nose in business that is incorrect. He always has to give a horrible take. That is classic Jez here, so here we go. One person said they won't, crying emoji, so he's saying boo-hoo to the team. Classy, Jez. Classy. I'm glad you get to still keep your job at Microsoft or Windows Central, whatever the hell it is. It's not indicative of a wider trend. But it is. There's lots of examples. You can find it. You can literally go on X, you can go on Reddit, you can go on Facebook, you can go on Instagram, and you're going to see the same type of comments run abhorrently so. And then, of course, Wandering Dutch reprising that statement. Oh, it wasn't one person. I moderate the chats for them. The Game Pass sub-begging is pretty prevalent. And again, that's correct. And at least he gets called out for that at that point in this example here. But another off-kilter, loss of touch of base here. Good old Jez, thank you so much. No, last and least, you need to buy and support all games. Subscription services is not it. If gaming is a main hobby for you or above a casual undertaking, please buy your games and support the devs. Yes, some of that's going, like I mentioned before, some of that's going to go to the businesses and the corporate heads, and they're going to help fund the yachts and the jets and whatever else, the Rolls Royce, whatever they want to have, right? It's going to be part of the game, right? Is you funding these execs. But at the same time, you're also funding the devs. You're also funding the quality of the gaming. It's a yin and yang type of deal, right? It really is. But let's keep going here. We're going to shift over to the Final Fantasy stuff. Like I mentioned, Final Fantasy, they mentioned that they're going to aggressively attack going multi-platform going forward for the most part. And I have some thoughts on this as well. But Genki here, usually a pretty good source with everything. And here's some factual stuff. Now, a lot of bots are running around, or Xbox eccentrics or fanboys are running around stating this is a gotcha moment. You guys didn't support Final Fantasy games, this, that, and the other. That is the furthest thing from the truth, and we'll explain that as well. But here we have Square Enix financial results. Net sales plus 3.8%, operating income negative 26%, basically. Net sales up 1% due to Final Fantasy 16 Rebirth, Pixel Remaster, and Dragon Quest, or DQM3, right? But operating income down 38% due to higher development and advertising costs. So there's some examples there. MMO sub segment down year over year, which is typical until, you know, all that stuff dies down, the content's been done. You have your hardcore folks that stay in MMOs, but then they continue to go on and drop eventually, some of the more casual base, until the new expansion comes back. I am one of those people because I have other games to get to, but once Dawn Trail releases, we're getting back into Final Fantasy 14 again for another month or so. Games for smart devices, PC browser subsegment down due to weak performances from existing titles. Yes, PC browser sub. Smart devices, meaning mobile and other stuff like that, not PlayStation. Publication net sales up 6.6%, amusement net sales up 9%, merchandising net sales up 20%. Great. So again, as you can see here, Genki, net profits were down 69.7%, partly due to the cancellation of some key pieces of content. If you've been following anything from Square Enix, they put the kibosh on a lot of different IPs, new IPs in development, some that were halfway in development. That's going to cost them drastically, right? So you have the source there that was provided by him that goes over that as well. So again, this is not a PlayStation thing. So stop trying to tag PlayStation as part of the reason of why Square Enix wants to attack this as a multi-platform strategy going forward. And just so you know, folks out there, all you salty folks out there on the Xbox side of things, or even PC folks that thinks that PlayStation wasn't supporting the games, they're going multi-platform. They've basically been multi-platform. I believe this is around 90%. I'm showing this graphic here. If you can kind of see it, I'll put it up as much as possible, as big as I can. You know, as you can see here, there's all sorts of stuff here that you're seeing that is now multi-platform. Has Xbox been supporting a lot of these games? I'm just curious. We all know the sales differential, and again, a lot of that is due to GamePass, and the other part of that is due to the user base being the fact that JRPGs and a lot of these offerings, especially in the RPG side of things, is not really up the alley of the typical Xbox consumer. And that's not necessarily a bad thing or saying, hey, you don't have taste whatsoever or how dare you. It's just the fact of the matter. This does not necessarily become a culling of sorts when it comes to that type of games or those type of games, right? So hopefully you can detect some of that there. But again, Donnie here, awesome stuff here. Because Paul Tassi's been running with this here, as you can see down below on this next graphic, Square Enix is done with PlayStation exclusivity after profit drop. So, a tone-deaf, clickbaity article and heading here. Alright, totally 100% what this is. He's been on damage control, and of course Xbox people, Gaz and all them, and some of the PC eccentrics and elitists are sitting there grabbing this as well, right? They're like, yeah, PlayStation fanboys attacking Paul Tassi. No, they're correcting information. There's not attacking. Anybody that does actual attacking or horrible things, I don't condone, and neither does any other gamer out there. That's just poor taste. But as far as correctly putting that information and responding to Paul, I think that's valid. So as we have here, as Donnie presents, as an FYI, Paul Tassi, since 2020, 68% of the Square Enix games have been multi-platform. Truth. 19% have been Nintendo exclusive. True. 13% have been PlayStation exclusive. Also true. But hey, Square Enix is done with PlayStation. So I'm glad folks are calling them out for the misinformation. That's what needs called out. Nothing more than that. Nothing, distasteful, do not personally attack people, stuff like that. I think that's childish and immature. We don't do that. I don't condone that sort of stuff. All right, and so just to back up some more claims in the Final Fantasy aspect, because again, folks, they are going to run with it. They're so salty about Xbox's, issues going forward, what's been happening with them behind the scenes. They're using this as such leverage, but this is information to counter that and to make them look like complete morons that they are. But as you can see here, the financial highlights again, Square Enix's digital entertainment sales were ever so slightly up, mainly thanks to its HD games sub-segment, the firm said. The solid performances of Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, Dragon Quest Monsters, The Dark Prince, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth saw HD games sales increase to 99.2 billion, 636 million versus 503 million the previous fiscal year. So again, this is not due to PlayStation as much as they want to run with that because they've had such a craptacular year already for 2024 when it was supposed to be the year of Xbox. But once again, they have to find and latch to something that might be negative towards PlayStation because God forbid. But again, just another graphic here to continually back that up because I'm all about having the facts and information here for y'all. Square Enix games that released between 2020 and 2024, 47 games in total. 9 of those were Nintendo exclusives, 6 of those were PlayStation exclusive, and guess what? 32 of those were already multi-platform. Yes, Square Enix isn't just about Final Fantasy, but as I showed in the graphic earlier, all those games encompass that Square Enix umbrella. And of course, the profit drop because of the lower MMO-mobile revenue, okay? Paul Tassi, Square Enix is done with PlayStation, just to keep putting that out there. It's just such a clickbaity article and headliner. It's just ridiculous. And again, I'm glad people are holding the feet to the fire, if you will, as far as really driving down the home of like, we're not going to take these journalists' words anymore of the clickbaity crap. People need to be held accountable appropriately, again, not crossing the line, but appropriately held accountable. And one final piece again from Zuby Tech here, stating suddenly they talk about Square Enix as if it wasn't already multi-platform because of the 3 PS5 exclusives out of the 50 games released in the 4 years. And again, as you can have here, a further breakdown of what's on PC, what's on PlayStation, Nintendo, mobile, exclusive, free to play, all that stuff, and Xbox as well. So just more information to combat that. It's crazy that they're running with this. I really think that is insane, but it's fun because we get to sit here and present those facts to them so they continue to cry more, be salty about it, and everything of Xbox going multi-platform, and the fact that we'll probably see Hellblade 2 on other platforms as we go forward, especially with it being day and date on Game Pass. But hey, once again, that is an Xbox fanboy problem, not another platform problem. So that being said, I appreciate everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Lots of information there, of course, as usual. And as usual, I really appreciate your support. We are clearly on the path to 2,000 subscribers. We're just climbing. Thank you so much. A lot of love in the last video as well. So thank you again. That means the world to me. And as always, if you haven't already, leave a like, comment, helps out that algorithm, share, all that good stuff. If you haven't as well, definitely consider subscribing if you enjoy the content and want to help out a small content creator like myself. It's much appreciated, so thanks again. And as always, just remember, don't be a salty batch. And we'll see you all next time on the next Xvault Gaming video. And until then, take care.